There's always insane people who crave power at the top. But without order followers, they could never carry out the incredibly destructive things that they do. They couldn't do it. We need to consider that. Are you an order follower?
We have to have the discussion now so that when it becomes our last hope, people can say, hey, we talked about this. Remember, we said we get to do it.
The worst way to make decisions about this would be if we all agree that we won't talk about it in polite society, we suppress it, which is basically what had been happening.
Phenomena of chemtrails. And, you know, when I was a kid, I used to see these trails in the sky all the time, and so that's cool. A jet just went over, and then you started to see a whole bunch of them. And next thing you know, everybody in your neighborhood was fighting and arguing, and you didn't know why.
Kylie Jenner is very, very concerned about chemtrails. In fact, she posted about it on social media. Now, Kylie is not known for trying to make political points or putting conspiracy theories out there. However, she did post a picture on Twitter that said the following. Let's take a quick look at it. She's worried about the blue crisscrossed sky. Who pays for this and why is it happening? Is something being exterminated here? Is that something me?
How is it so hard to believe that the military is spraying metallic particles in the air for some kind of weather modification, some kind of a geoengineering weapons or something like that? How is that like a Loch Ness monster? How is that so crazy? Right. But people, the skeptics, oh, you're so skeptical. What the fuck are you skeptical about? You're gullible. You're not skeptical. You're gullible.
Maybe it's happening already. You ever look at those planes up there? They have contrails behind them. Maybe all those planes with the contrails, maybe they're actually spraying chemicals into the atmosphere right now and Uncle Sam isn't telling us.
Seems extremely unlikely.
That the United States is not telling something to its citizens? That seems extremely likely to me. Read the newspaper. I think they might have your idea already.
There are 172 bills before the U.S. Senate right now calling for more weather modification programs.
So I'm working with one of the leading contractors of high-altitude aircraft in the U.S., Aurora Flight Sciences. We're in the middle of a contract they have with us looking at the costs of doing this, and the costs are, as we thought, small. These costs.
Would you add it to the fuel, or would it?
No, that doesn't work at all. That's in the blogosphere. No, you build custom aircraft that would fly at about 75,000 feet. It would put the appropriate sulfur, whatever it is, in the atmosphere. And the costs of doing that really work out to be low enough that costs don't matter.
I would like for us to send a copy of this video where all of you spoke today, all 2.5 or 3 hours of this testimony, to be sent to our senators and our U.S. representatives, and also our representatives in the state of California.
Our elected officials in California and 48 other states in the Union continue to lie about the climate engineering reality.
I would just like to respectfully request that you think about your families, your friends. This is not a Republican issue. This is not a Democrat issue. This is an issue of the general welfare of the American people. Thank you.
At least in one state, there's a few elected officials with the sense of morality and the courage to back it up. That state is Rhode Island.
7578, and legislation around geoengineering that we've heard previously as well. Thank you. Rep. McBeth, please.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. This, I believe, is the third year that I've submitted this legislation. And I think since the first year that I did submit it, certainly I've gotten a lot more correspondence, and I believe you probably have as a committee.
We're communicating with some of the committee members now. The Geoengineering Watch legal team is going to communicate with some of these committee members. But this is legislation from representatives, elected officials that have some courage, some morality, and some backbone, something that seems to be lacking in almost all other states.
I've been following this for quite some time, and if you can actually pull up some government documents that confirm that there are geoengineering programs being conducted, probably worldwide. Not so much like you had said. The woman said that it probably should be addressed on a federal level, which I could see why she would say that, because it's probably more of a federal issue because it's so nationwide. But if we just address it on a state issue, as a states could get together, and as states they could address it on a federal issue. But I have information that I can supply to the committee. This Air Force document. It's called Owning the Weather 2025. It's actually from the Air Force. There's some stuff from the Department of Accountability, which I know that when we go through committees, we always like to have facts that we could research and government data, and also have a 300-page research document which kind of gives the history of the program and where it currently is and where they project that it will go. So it's definitely should be up for conversation, and I think that's one of the reasons that we're bringing this up, so that it at least comes up to be discussed and come to light, even though it is like the elephant in the room when you can see it in operation if you choose to look for it.
And there are programs around the world. International corporations are modifying our weather all the time, and they're modifying it in ways that cover thousands and thousands of square miles. Most of it is chemically altered, so that what happens is that we are putting chemicals, ground-based chemicals that are shot into the air, or chemicals coming from airplanes that change and modify our weather.
Death dumps, otherwise known as chemical trails, are being dropped and sprayed throughout the United States, in England, Scotland, Ireland, Northern Europe, and I have personally seen them not only in the United States but in Mexico and Canada. This is a crime against humanity, a crime against America, crime against the citizens of this great country. They must be stopped. What is wrong with Congress? This has an effect on their population and their people and their friends and their relatives and themselves. What's wrong with them? What's wrong with the pilots who are flying these airplanes?
What we're seeing now, and I first could not believe it, and I started looking at the skies, and these are not normal. They're not natural. There's something going on. I don't know who it is or why they're doing it. All I can testify is it's not natural and it's not normal. It's got to be some outside influence doing that.
Geoengineering is now a factor in insect collapse, and probably will eventually have something to do with our ecosystem. Bird populations, according to National Audubon Society, are collapsed and starving. We've never found aluminum inside the plant's circulatory system before. And these are only just a few of thousands of reports we've got from all over the world, and we have local data as well, and lots of it.
I've been talking about this for the last 14 years, doing weather observations, testing plants, finding metal and everything. Looking at this for a long time. I haven't seen a natural weather front yet. If I see occasionally we have a day, it actually looks like real clouds. I'm not sure any of us have seen a real sky for the last 30 years, and if you're younger than that, you probably haven't.
Dane is used to skeptics. He once was one himself.
Talk is cheap for those that haven't investigated. I didn't want to believe this either.
His background is in solar power, but he started investigating on his own about a decade ago. After becoming suspicious, something is partially blocking the sun's energy from reaching his solar home. Dane decided to go public.
I can't not do this. It's the last thing I ever wanted to do. I'm not a political person. I'm not an activist. I'm simply a father that wants his children to have a future.
His cause is gaining more attention. On this night in Reading, more than 1,000 people showed up from all over the country.
There's no regulation associated with geoengineering.
The panel included a former California Fish and Game biologist, a former U.S. Forest Service biologist, and a U.S. Navy veteran.
I've spoken to NOAA scientists face-to-face who've told me off the record that they know this is going on, but they're afraid to speak out because they have no First Amendment protection. I've been in the field with USDA soil scientists, same. I've been told by congressional representatives, same.
The truth, he says, will cause a global shockwave.
The data backs that up. I've already bet my life on this fact. And again, those who doubt this is going on, those who want to deny it, those who are in fact protecting their paychecks and pensions by denying it, will not be able to much longer. The damage is too cataclysmic. There'll be no hiding this issue for much longer.
But what is unknown today may be actual fact tomorrow, thanks to a bill soon to be voted on in the U.S. Senate, a Weather Modification Act, calling for research in, quote, attempting to change or control by artificial methods the natural development of atmospheric cloud form.
Lines in the sky.
Brilliant, bright white blue.
Strange circles.
What chemicals they use, I do not know.
Peculiar patterns.
And I saw grids and grids, planes flying back and forth.
For thousands of people in Colorado.
I think they're spraying chemicals.
Across the country and around the world.
It's scary.
These weirdly shaped vapor trails above Dubbo make curious patterns, but concerns tonight it could signal a systematic poisoning of the skies above Western New South Wales. Jet planes often leave contrails, but these vapor trails aren't on any recognised flight paths, and they run closely parallel and cross over in gigantic X shapes, forming giant grid patterns across the sky. And it's not just Dubbo, these are happening worldwide. There's a growing belief that chemtrails, as they're known, are part of a secret international strategy to inject fine particles into the upper atmosphere to reflect sunlight back into space and prevent global warming.
In fact, I've found people in the environmental movement to be the hardest to reach of all with the most important issue of all, because they really don't want the truth. They want to feel like they're doing something for the greater good, but they don't really want to be bothered with the most important, most dire issue. They don't want to be, and they all want to convince each other that they don't need to be.
Everybody question. I'm just wondering why you have been denying the ongoing programs of geoengineering in park that have been aerosolizing our skies with particulate lumen. I'm just wondering why you're denying it.
I'm not denying it. I say I don't.
You're a wise old man. I've been listening to you since I was this little.
I understand.
Your father looked at the sky. Do you not look at the sky and notice the change? Do you not see the trails?
Of course I do. Look, I understand about chemtrails and all of that.
Without addressing the real issue, Mr. Suzuki.
Please, we all have to address it in whatever way we see fit. Chemtrails are your thing.
It's not chemtrails, it's geoengineering and park.
Geoengineering is occurring, it's been occurring, it is not new, and your tax dollars are funding this. I 100% know that the U.S. Air Force was involved, and it kind of, I think back to all these things that I never had noticed. If you don't know what to look for, you can't look for something. And once I realized a process they were trying to hide, people have come out of the woodworks, from EPA compliance officers to ex-people that I worked with in my career field. Well, I cannot state for obvious reasons. I've had pilots come forward. I've had people come forward that actually load the canisters on the planes. These people don't come forward because they are afraid that they're going to end up like Snowden. And I continue to speak to let people know I've been screaming about this for 3 years and I'm still here. And why are you so afraid? Because many of these people are on active duty. You were willing to die for your country, but now you're scared. You are scared and cowardly to talk about this. So I'm not just speaking to all of you in this room, I'm speaking to all those people that are going to watch us online and watch it on YouTube. Because you can come forward, you can help expose this, and we can stop it.
This is not a time for discussion, but a time for action. We need help from our enlisted military personnel as well as any officers involved with these programs, especially anyone a part of Operation Indigo Skyfold or any similar programs. Please help shed light on these issues because, like Dane will tell you, time is not on our side.
Global climate engineering is nothing short of weather and biological warfare. The ongoing geoengineering solar radiation management programs are completely disrupting the climate system and contaminating the entire planet with toxic heavy metals and chemicals in the process. Lab tests from all over the globe conclusively prove this fact. Don't believe it? Doesn't matter. It's happening and you're exposed, just like the rest of us. Global climate engineering is mathematically the greatest and most immediate threat we collectively face, short of nuclear cataclysm. If we wish to yet preserve what is left of Earth's life support systems, all of us are needed in the battle to expose and halt geoengineering. Tomorrow is too late. Make your voice heard. This is Dane Wigington with geoengineeringwatch.org.